And we are live. Hey everybody, welcome to the Shallow End, a topic cast. We're gonna just talk about things that I think are too small for a video, or just stuff that we're thinking about in our lives. Today, I have a guest. This is my friend Adam. Adam, how you doing today?
I am doing all right. How about you, Dish?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a bit of a long day setting things up, but overall, feeling pretty good. Any uh any cool things going on in life? Anything you want to share?
Not really. It's September 2020. Nothing cool is really happening. There's some movies in the cinema that I'm not going to go watch. And there's on Netflix that I have been watching. That's about it.
I feel that. Yeah, 100%. I have been playing games that came out earlier in the year. I checked out Ori and the Will of the Wisps in the last couple weeks. That was a lot of fun. I had finished Ori and the Blind Forest, or I'm finishing Ori and the Blind Forest with a friend, and I am now approaching the end of the second game, or I just finished it, probably. And it's good. It's real good. Uh,
So you haven't beaten the first one and you beat the second?
yes, a friend of mine and I are playing the first one together, so I went ahead and skipped to the second one to do some solo play, and it's good. It's real good.
Which is better?
I think they're good in different ways. The first one is a lot less combat focused, and it's a very platformy, sort of high pace chase scene kind of thing. And it's really good. It's very environmentally sound. The game mechanics are very tight, and they carried a lot of that over into the second game. But the second game is very combat focused. So I find myself kind of missing the you got to use your head to escape out of this because you can't fight your way through it. But the combat is really smooth, and the game mechanics are really tight in the second one too. So good in different ways. I'm not a big fan of the collectathon, and the second one is much more collectibles than the first one.
Are they just collecting feathers in Assassin's Creed where you don't really have to do it, or is it like
Um, so
required to unlock the next chapter or something?
it's more required to unlock things. Like in order for you to gain skills, you have to have so much of the monetary value. You get the monetary value by grinding up enemies or finding little treasure troves full of it, etc., etc. And then if you want to build up your uh, energy in your life, you have to go find the fragments and collect those. And then there are little side quests that you can do for NPCs that they're just like go get a thing and come back, but also it's just another here to there, get the stuff and move on. So it can just get a little bit repetitive if you're trying to 100%, which I was trying to do, and then I think I decided that the last like 1% isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, other than that, though, things are going good. Everything's great, and I think it'd be good if we went ahead and got started on this. You ready to tackle some of the topics that we came in for today?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and start it off, and it's going to be something that is not magic related. I figured I'd go ahead and get this out of the way now. So if it gets too deep in the weeds, I can just take a nap while you carry the conversation when we get into the magic stuff. So, are you familiar with Jerry Conway at all?
No, I am not.
Okay. I can guarantee you are familiar with some of his work. So, this guy, his first comic story was put out in, I think, 69,
Mm-hmm.
68, 69, somewhere in there. He was 16 and a half years old. In his career at DC and at Marvel, he co created The Punisher. You might have heard of him.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Firestorm.
Uh huh.
Jason Todd, the first Robin to get killed.
Yeah.
Um, he did the first Marvel DC crossover with Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
He scripted the issue that killed Gwen Stacy.
Okay.
So when this guy talks about comics, if nothing else, you should at least give him a listen.
Mm-hmm.
And he has basically said that if he was in charge of comics, he would cancel all the superhero titles right now.
Wow. Okay.
More or less, he thinks that the industry has drifted away from what it should be, which is primarily focusing towards like middle schoolers. That comics nowadays, comics since the 90s, have really been aimed towards adults. And it's kind of been a creep that's been going on where back in the 50s and the 60s, comics, if you ask somebody at DC, if you ask somebody at Marvel in the early years, maybe not Marvel, or if you ask Marvel, they may give you a different answer. But their target audience was 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, maybe up to 13 or so.
Okay.
And the idea back then was you start getting into your mid-teens, you stop reading comics, and the next batch is basically the next wave takes over.
Oh, okay.
And so the idea was, we don't need to worry about this heavy continuity stuff. We can reuse things because every 5 years or so, you've got brand new audiences coming in.
Right.
But then the people who grew up reading the comics in the 60s, they moved into the business. And they didn't just want comics for kids anymore. They wanted comics for them. So like in the 1960s, we're looking at like 9 to 13 being the target audience. And then the 1970s, we're moving more towards young adults. The 1980s, we're seeing, like look at Claremont's run on the X-Men. And the 1990s, it's, women in fridges, women posed in such a way that you can look at their chest and their butt at the same time.
Right.
Definitely not geared towards those 9-year-olds anymore.
Right.
And so his idea, I say idea, he's not in charge of things, but he said if he was, he'd cancel everything, restart, and have a smaller line of 10 to 15 books with simpler stories, simpler continuity. You wouldn't have these great big events where I am totally on board for this. You wouldn't have these great big events where you have to know tons of details of stuff that have happened over the years. They'd be, fairly light continuity events if you have any. And for adult readers, there could still be infrequent graphic novel sized things that come out. So like if we look back, did you ever read God Loves, Man Kills?
No, I haven't read it, but I did hear about it earlier today, actually.
Oh, well, that was not for me. You should read it. It's very, very good. It was released as a graphic novel. I really hope I'm correct on that. But it was released as a graphic novel, and kind of for a while, Marvel was doing a lot of those. The New Mutants started off like graphic novel sized, where it would be these bigger stories. They don't have to worry about the comics code necessarily, which that's not a thing anymore, but back then it was a huge deal. And they could kind of tell the stories that they wanted to tell. There could be blood. The bad guy could get away. You could have corrupt policemen and politicians and things. These were all things that more or less the Comics Code Authority wouldn't allow back in the day. So like the old story about the comics that would run without the Comics Code Authority seal because they wanted to tell a story that involved drug use, where it was depicted in a very bad way, but it was, they're using drugs. You can't do this book anymore. You can't steal in there. It would kind of be the equivalent of Paramount or Warner Brothers or somebody putting out a movie without getting it rated. Not something you would typically do. But anyway, yeah. Completely wipe the slate, start a new line, aim it at kids. And for adults, you could have these occasional graphic novels. And he said expand distribution, Put stuff back in grocery stores, at movie theaters, subscribe on Amazon, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're not a comics guy, but what are your thoughts on this?
So, one of the things I mentioned, I heard about the graphic novel you were talking about earlier. I was watching a YouTube video that talks about tropes, and it was particularly talking about the writing mechanism of grimdark. And I'm sure you're aware of what grimdark is. But it's for those who might be watching grimdark, is basically the idea of that the dark fantastical elements where everything is sad and it's going to be sad, and the good guys aren't necessarily going to win, and even if they do win, their win is sort of overshadowed by the looming defeat that is yet to come. And it's very dark. It's grim and it's dark, and that's why it's called grimdark. And the performer of this YouTube video was talking about it so impassioned because they felt like too many things are trying to be grimdark or start going that route and barely turn the other way before the end, and that it's sort of a habit of adults to look at stories where the good guys win and the bad guys lose as childish, or having sort of an optimistic outlook at what could happen in reality, to be an immature stance or a naive stance. And this particular YouTuber doesn't agree with that. And I think that there's some truth there, and I think that part of the problem within the way that comics are made now is that having to constantly up the ante on a huge continuity can sometimes make things look impossible, like make the circumstances look worse, and they always have to be more graphic and more severe. And I think being able to reset yourself every 5 years and be able to use lighter topics, or be able to use more optimistic storylines could be a benefit for the series. I do wonder how much it would hurt sales, because one of the things about gearing it toward adults is that adults have a lot of extra capital to spend on whatever they want.
I don't know if I'd say a lot. Probably more than a 10-year-old. But
more than a 10-year-old, at least. But with the extra disposable income, sometimes leaning things toward adults is a way to maintain high sales. But I do think that there is something to be said about opening this up for a younger audience and letting them into this world. And I mean, like, there are other forms of media that use the comic book stuff that could still exist in the late teens to early adults and beyond range. The CW shows, or the Netflix programs, that they put out. I think that is a good medium for the more hard-nosed stories, the ones that are intended for a more mature audience, and then let the comics books be for the kids that you're trying to get in for the next wave.
My first question is, did this YouTube guy use God Loves Man Kills as an example of grimdark?
No. They talked about
Okay.
they talked about it in the terms that some people look at it and think it's grimdark when it's really not. Like it. The YouTuber, by the way, is for anyone who wants to go look it up. It's Overly Sarcastic Productions is the name of the group. They do Trope Talk, so it'd be Trope Talk Grimdark if you want to watch this one.
We'll put a link in the description.
Absolutely, and I highly recommend them. They're great at bringing topics up in literacy and things like that a lot of people don't have a lot of exposure to. And if you're like a amateur writer or a writer that just wants to get better at what's going on, is a great place to like learn about things that we use within writing.
I'm gonna have to check out that video, but I think I really like a lot of what Jerry Conway said.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I like is 10 to 15 books being an entire line. There's just so much to keep track of. I fell off comics more or less for years and jumped back into it last summer when the House of X Powers of 10 Powers of X came out, which was great. It really was a really good starting point. You needed to know some continuity, I guess, at least be familiar with some of the major characters. But all in all, it was a really good place to jump onto. And every week, a book came out. It would alternate more or less between, House of X, Powers of X, House of X, Powers of X, Powers of X, House of X, all summer long. And so it was great. Every week you go and pick up a book. And then that ended, and I don't remember what they called it, Dawn of X, that may have been what they called it, came out.
Mm-hmm.
And now instead of one book every week, you've got, I think, 5 or 6 books to keep track of.
Right.
And then things get delayed. And you're not sure if you missed an issue or if it just hasn't come out yet. Yeah. And they would add in a new title and take out another title. And then you would have like books like Wolverine, which, Wolverine is clearly associated with the X-Men. He's in House of X. He's in Powers of 10. He's in, the various side books. But he has his own solo book. Is that something I need to be picking up as well to get the full story?
Right.
And the
Right.
it turned into, the same thing we've had since 1991, where the X-Men books alone are an entire line.
Right. Right.
And it's so hard to keep track of. I fell off again recently, and it wasn't because I wasn't interested in the stories and I didn't like what was going on. It was just I couldn't keep up with everything.
Yeah.
So that 10 to 15 books for an entire line sounds amazing. Not being as continuity heavy, maybe. I think it is wrong, though, to say superhero comic books should be for 9 to 13-year-olds. Because that's like saying a novel should be for a certain age group of people. It's a discussion I've been having for decades at this point, where people think comic books and they think a certain thing when really it's just a medium.
Yeah.
It's like saying video games.
Right.
That you were talking about. Are video games for kids?
Well, right. No, absolutely not. And I think, but there is something to be said, like video games have rating systems in order to differentiate.
Comics have ratings.
Yeah. And I think that's a right way to handle it. I think that is good. That there's no reason that you have to not make things for adults. But I think that what he's trying to say is the over focus. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see the thing. Maybe he's just saying like stop altogether.
He said cancel all superhero comics.
Cancel. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I 100% agree with that idea, but I do think that it would be nice if there was more stuff geared toward children and geared toward getting new people involved in a way that's right for their age group, And
my issue with this, though, when was the last time you went to a comic shop?
Oh man, it's been a while.
Okay. So we're recording this on a Friday. Tomorrow, if you've got time, I don't know what comic shops are down in your neck of the woods, but see if you can find a local comic book shop. Go in, and look for younger geared content.
Mm-hmm.
Both Marvel and DC have put out lines of books in the past. I don't know what they've currently got going on, but DC had, I think, DC Superheroes maybe was the title of the line. Marvel Adventures, I think, was their kids line that they had. I don't know if they're still around. I don't know how well they sold.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just if you look at Marvel and DC. You need to look at the everything that surrounds it. Not just the big two or the big three or the big four, but picking up books like Lumberjanes. Highly recommend that. I can lend you the first volume if you want to read it. It's not a superhero story, but it's something that younger kids can easily pick up.
Mm-hmm.
There's some spooky parts to it. It's something that parents may want to vet before they give to their kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's revealed in the second or third volume that one of the Lumberjanes, one of the characters, they're at a camp, a summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is trans. So whether or not that's a discussion a parent thinks their child is ready to have,
Mm-hmm.
that might be something to consider. But I mean, you shouldn't say an entire genre of an entire
medium should be, yeah.
It's superheroes. I mean, have you watched The Boys?
No, I haven't, but we've discussed that in the past.
Watch it or read it. That's definitely not a superheroes are for kids book.
Right, exactly.
And it's intentionally they knew what they were doing. They were trying to do something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Conway, he co-created The Punisher.
Yes.
He co-created the guy whose superpower was guns.
Yeah, and you know, I think that we see that a lot as people's ideals change. They do tend to think that way, because I still hear arguments for the idea of making video games for a younger sect, you know, and a lot of the best games that I've ever played in my life are definitely not geared toward children, you know. And I mean, some of them are, you know, there are great games that have E for everyone tags that reach children, and they're still deep and complex things. But you don't need to have all of it be that. There can be things that you reserve for a mature audience, and then things that you release to everyone, or release specifically toward a younger group, you know?
Yeah, comics shouldn't be any different than movies.
Right.
I should be able to go one of these years to a cinema, and there should be a G-rated movie there that's animated, and if Pixar did it, it's probably pretty good. And in the next cinema over, a movie about a guy who wears a mask and kills all the teenagers having sex.
Right. Also animated, not made by Pixar.
Very good. A great musical number right in the middle. Really nice together. There's room for everything.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No, I agree. I think cancellation of ideas is not a good thing, and whatever medium it's in, ideas should be allowed to be expressed.
Yeah. If somebody was saying comics aren't for kids, then I would be, arguing the same thing.
Right, exactly.
By all means, there should be comics that aren't superheroes. There should be comics that are. There should be comics for kids. There should be comics for adults.
Yeah, I think that's 100. Just, make the content in the medium that you want to express your ideas in, and The rest is just, let it be. Let things exist, folks. You hear me, Jeremy? That was the right name, right? Jeremy? You hear me, Jeremy?
Who's Jeremy?
Conway? Is that right?
Jerry.
Jerry.
Jerry Conway.
And on that embarrassing note, we'll move over to another topic.
Yeah, so what do you got, Dish?
Okay, my first topic is about the Mastery Pass in Magic. A lot of Magic topics this week from me, and I just want.
It is a Magic channel.
This is true. I do Magic content. That is 90% of what I do, and weird dances and funny faces. The rest, but yeah. So the Mastery Pass. One of the big things that was talked about recently is the Mastery Pass again, and whether or not it is worth what it is considered to be worth. Now, Adam, you had a little bit of background on this before we started, right?
Very, very little.
Yeah. So
why don't you the Mastery Pass to me? Like, I don't know anything.
Okay. So the Mastery Pass is it's a line of rewards that you get within the arena structure for doing the things that you would do while playing. So they give you a certain amount of experience that you can gather per day by winning games or completing objectives. That experience leads to level building, and for every level you get some kind of reward. If you're a free-to-play player, you always get the reward track that gives you the newest set. So right now with Zendikar Rising out, all players, whether they are free-to-play or pay for the Mastery Pass, will be getting Zendikar packs for the first 70 levels of the Mastery Pass. Every other level or every third level, depending on what part of the pass you're in. But you'll get packs.
So this is the free every day you do certain things.
Mm-hmm, that's the free thing. But there is a premium track that runs concurrent with it. So if you pay 3,400 gems, which is about $17, okay, you get access to the premium part of the pass. In the premium part of the pass, there's extra prizing. So there's orbs that you can trade in for card designs. There's just free random card design styles on there. There's cosmetics like pets. And there are packs of previous sets in the premium version.
You still have to unlock these.
Yes, you still have to level up. It follows the same track. It's just more prizing. So you'll get your Zendikar pack, but you might also get a new pet that you can put on screen and have fun with.
If I had gone, say, 20 levels,
mm-hmm,
and then I bought it, would I get 20 levels in the pass? You would
get everything that you had not gotten before.
Okay.
So you could go all the way to the very last day that this pass is going to be viable, get to level 113 or whatever, and then say, I'm going to buy the pass, and you will get everything on the premium part of the pass that you did not get for playing, for doing it. Also on the premium track, there tends to be gem rewards. So that you can make back some of the gems that you spent buying the pass. Now, I don't think there's ever been a point where the amount of gems you get from the Mastery Pass pay for the pass. You could never get $17 worth of gems out of just winning while on the Mastery Pass. But in previous iterations of the Mastery Pass, they have had more gems. And then last season, they made it less gems overall. And their reasoning was, it's a shorter season, so there's not going to be as many levels, so we're not making as much prizing. And then they put out the new pass for the new season, which is actually longer than an average season tends to be. and it has more levels, but it does not have more prizing, at least in terms of gems. And on that note, gems in general have been less on the Mastery Pass than they have been before. So people come out and they talk about it and they're just like, is this even worth it? Like, you can't continually pay for a Mastery Pass with the gems you get from a Mastery Pass. So how's this worth it? Other games' reward systems usually allow you to pay for the premium pass with what you win out of the old pass, so that you only end up paying for it once, and then through hard work you can get it for free for the rest of the time period. And that is their definition of worth. So,
if I can chime in, that makes no sense at all to me.
Okay, why not?
So, how long is a season?
So, a season lasts when a set is new. So when the next set comes out, Kaldheim, that, like, 2 days before that is when the Zendikar one will end. So, like,
Okay.
3 months-ish.
It would make no sense for me to play over the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then to go, okay, well, I reached the top of the prize support, whatever that happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my $17. And they go, okay, well, as a prize, you get all this stuff and $17.
$17.
Like, that makes no sense. Like,
exactly. So that is
now,
that.
I think that you should get $17 worth of gems and other stuff. But
yeah. So that's where we come into value, right? So I went and looked up some stuff on this, and somebody had done a very good article, I will link it in the description, about whether or not the Mastery Pass is quote-unquote worth it. And it looks at it from both angles, whether you're a person who believe cosmetics are worth it, and whether or not you believe that cosmetics are worth nothing. Like, if you're not into pets, if you're not into card styles, and you know, you don't care about fancy sleeves or anything like that, they calculate the value for that person as well. And the value of the Mastery Pass is still like $110, $130 just from the free packs and the things like that, because when you are like 20 packs within Arena, a pack is $1. So if you're getting 20 packs just from completing the Mastery Pass, there's $20 of worth for your $17 right off of the bat.
do you have any guarantee what packs you're getting?
You have a perfect guarantee. You
said that they're. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a perfect guarantee. So in the Mastery Pass, in the premium part, as you progress through, you will get 5 packs of M21, 5 packs of Ikoria, 5 packs of Eldraine, and 5 packs of the set that I didn't mention, Theros. So basically 5 packs of each other set that's in Standard right now, except for Zendikar, because you're already getting Zendikar through the free portion.
So as long as you don't already have play sets of everything.
Yeah, as long as you're not sitting on play sets of everything, which if you are not a pay player, you don't. So you can get at least $20 of value just straight out of packs from buying the $17 pass. So there's your money right there. And everything else is gravy. The gem rewards, the extra cosmetics and all that stuff. And the guy had it worked out that if you are into cosmetics and stuff, you're actually getting something like $300 worth of value by the end of the pass, which is a huge amount of value for $17, you know. And if you like pets and you like cosmetics and stuff, absolutely the pass is for you. But even if you're not into that and all you want is cards to play cards, it gives you more cards. It gives you vault progress. It gives you everything. If $17 isn't what you're willing to spend for 3 months of extra prizing, I guess don't do it. But I don't think that there's a question as to whether or not this is worth.
Now, I have played Arena, I don't know, maybe a couple of times this year. For me, for a person like me, that once in a while they get the magic edge, they'll log on, they'll lose a few games, they'll get upset, they'll keep playing until they win one, then they log off and swear never to return. Somebody like me, this sounds like a terrible investment.
Absolutely.
I would be better off spending $17 buying packs in the store.
Absolutely. 100% true. 100% true. If you are not an everyday player, if you are not, I would say if you're not even, if upwards of like twice a week, if you're playing Magic for 3 hours a period, 2 periods a week, you will probably play enough Magic to benefit from the $17 pass, but still wouldn't get it, you know. But most players aren't those kind of the kind of players that I'm looking at usually are these players who play every day. They play for several hours a day. They grind out their quests and they very sorry, one moment. I'll have to put up a technical difficulty sign for every time I cough.
Or just hit your mute button.
Yeah, one of those two. But with all these passes with all the amount of time that they play and all the amount of investment that they put in the game, it would be silly not to put $17 in and get this extra value. But that being said, if they don't want that extra value, just don't buy it. But again, I mean, is there any doubt that this is like worth the money that it costs? I don't think so.
I'd like to see at what point kind of the break even would be. That would be a good number to say.
Yeah, so that's in the article as well. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's roughly around level 30 to 40-ish. So just for context on leveling, right? Every day you get a quest, and that quest gives you 500 experience, which is half a level. And if you play your wins for the day, you can get another 250. So that's 3/4 of a level in a day. You can get that pushed up to a level a day if you do certain things, but essentially you can get 2 levels every 3 days ish. And so if you're playing every day all the time, building up these levels takes no time at all. If you are playing very infrequently, you'd want to make sure that you got up to 30 in order to make that value back in packs and gems, at least. And cosmetics, again, that number could be shorter because cosmetics are worth something if you count cosmetics as being worth something.
Well, just be sure to link to the article.
Definitely. I'll throw that in, and if anybody has an argument with me, maybe we'll bring it up next time around. But I can't see why anyone would think it's not worth the money. I can see why they wouldn't want to spend the money. I don't see why they would say that it's not worth it. As far as the diminishing prizes go, though, I think WotC doesn't really have a leg to stand on when they talk about diminishing prizes, because the prizes have never equaled out to where you can buy the next mastery pass with the current amount of gems. So taking them away is kind of a feel bad for anybody who's like, well, at least I'm getting something back, you know. But at the end of the day, the amount of stuff that you get in the mastery pass doesn't detract from that, you know. All right. Well, I think I've railed about that enough. What is next on our agenda? This is one of your topics.
All right. So I don't have a whole lot to say here. I just kind of want to get your feel for it. Next year, there's not going to be a core set. Instead, there's going to be the clunkiest Magic set ever. Magic the Gathering Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Hopefully they fix that name before it comes out.
They need to add some more words. Like I want it to be where you have to print on both sides of the booster pack.
I think that if it doesn't have the words "The Reckoning" in it, it's not a true D&D set, is it?
Well, what I'm waiting for is Magic the Gathering Dungeons and Dragons Return to Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Still
or
without
Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Reborn.
Reborn. There we go. That'll do it. There we are. Now we've hit it.
So that's happening. You actually told me about that. That's happening next summer.
Yes.
There's not going to be a core set.
No core set.
Which Morrow has said. I'm not saying we won't have core sets anymore. Just this is in the core set slot for next year.
That was very smart of him, because the last time he said we're not doing core sets anymore, the
last time he said that, I'm pretty sure he meant we're not doing core sets anymore.
He did, but he didn't realize that not doing core sets anymore didn't mean not doing core sets anymore. It just meant putting them off for a few years.
I think he was trying to tell the truth at that point.
I think so.
Hey guys, no more core sets. Also, sets are coming out every 3 weeks, and for a standard rotation, it's every 15 and a half weeks.
Right. Oh, man.
In February, when it's actually going to be... Except in February, when it's actually going to be 19 weeks. That was around the time I quit playing, when standards started changing, and I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. The change to standard, I know why they did it, and I think if we had actually stuck with it, it might have made standard better, but that's like a full video topic. I think so. My thing on this D&D set, there's a lot to say here. One of the big things, though, is that a lot of people are worried about the continual crossovers. As you know, Ikoria had the Godzilla cards in it.
I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hold on to that. I'm pretty sure whatever you're about to say is going to pertain doubly so.
Sure. Yeah,
when I finish.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's happening next summer.
Yeah.
Do you know what came out a couple of months ago in July of 2020?
Are we talking about A Secret Lair?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay.
What came out was the D&D source book, Mythic Odysseys of Theros.
Oh yeah, the second Theros book, or the
first Theros
book.
Yeah,
one of
2016 had Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Yes.
So it was. I mean, it was 4 years ago, but it was the second kind of modern era.
Yeah.
Current era. I guess I shouldn't say modern. D&D Magic campaign book. Do you think we're going to be seeing WotC try to capitalize on all of their... I don't even know what other property... Oh, it's Hasbro. Hasbro owns WotC.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we going to see Jay show up in some G.I. Joe or something?
That's sort of the $1 million question, right? So, yeah, you're right. So what I was just talking about, Ikoria had the Godzilla cards, and the Godzilla cards were just an alternate art of characters that already existed within Ikoria. They put out the character is Titanoth Rex, but they put Godzilla in its place, and they even put like a little border underneath it that's like, this isn't really Godzilla, it's Titanoth Rex, but here's a cool card with a picture of Godzilla on it, right? And previous to that, they put out a special collector's edition of My Little Pony Magic cards that was like, it was only like 3 cards, but they were all styled after characters from My Little Pony, and they all had mechanics that looked like they kind of fit an MLP set. And before that, way back when Transformers 5 or 7 came out, something like that, they had two cards that came out that were magic cards that look like Transformers. They had a Grimlock and an Optimus Prime, I think. And so the question becomes: are these things going to become canonical situations? Right? Are we going to have Chandra show up on Cybertron at some point? Right? And I think the short answer is no. The longer answer is a little more complicated, but D&D and Magic have taken place in the same multiverse since they've both been under Wizards of the Coast umbrella. It was made very clear that Dominaria was a plane that you could play Dungeons and Dragons on. Like the whole idea was that worlds are worlds, and all world building falls under the multiverse that planes are in, right? So I'm concerned about the D&D set in a little bit, because I think that they're probably not going to actually have any characters that we know show up.
Drist is not there. I'm gonna play.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. Sorry. No magic characters we know. I don't think they're going to show up. I don't think we're going to have Elspeth showing up on the Forgotten Realms plane. I think that we're going to see characters from the Forgotten Realms stuff. I think we'll see a Drist card. I think we'll see...
Name another. Do it.
I can't. I had one. It starts with an E. He's some kind of mage, but I cannot remember his name. But
Eddie the mage. I said Eddie.
Eddie, yes, Eddie the mage. It's like Emerald or something.
Emrakul's a different guy.
Emrakul's a very different person, being, thing. But the point being that I think that they'll have characters from the Forgotten Realms titles in the Forgotten Realms stuff. And they might have new characters that we've never seen on a Magic plane before, and we've never seen in the D&D plane before, and bring them across. But, like, I've heard a lot of people talk and say, like, well, if Drist ends up being a planeswalker, I'm out, or whatever.
That wouldn't make any sense.
It wouldn't make any sense. And I think WotC knows that, and I think WotC will make him a legendary creature, but I don't think that they'll make it I don't think they'll make him a planeswalker. And they're not going to make any other major characters in their world planeswalkers either, because they're not planeswalkers. Like, it's just never been established in their lore ever that they even know that planes are a thing,
Do you think there's going to be any planeswalkers? Do you think we're going to have a planeswalker-less set?
I think that they will come up with new planeswalkers for the set. This is my called shot, is that there will be new characters that we've never seen in either canon, and those will be planeswalkers.
Okay.
And there might be 2, maybe 3.
Per color?
No. God, I hope not. Not again.
It's okay at a common level. It's fine. Second thing, are they still going to reprint the classics? Like, are we going to see a booster pack that has a Llanowar elf and a drow in it?
Huh. So...
Or are they going to just do Forgotten Realms flavor?
I think that mechanically speaking, they're going to make the Forgotten Realms flavor work in in Magic mechanics. So I think that any drow we see is going to be an elf. That they won't make drow its own, like, subset tribe in the thing. I think that they'll just make it that they're elves, and high elves from that world will also be elves. if because they don't want to set it up where they're forced to come back here eventually if they don't want to. And Magic has made that mistake several times in the past, and each time those mistakes get further and further apart, I feel. So I'm hoping this time around they just play it on the conservative side, make everything work mechanically within the game. Personally, I think the set is going to be awesome because if it has more of this party mechanic that we just saw come in Zendikar, which it's gonna, right? Like, it's going to. Zendikar...
I don't remember any parties happening in the Forgotten Realms books.
But Zendikar is always a dry run as far as like the D&D-esque setting anyway. So this party mechanic has to be a dry run for what we're going to see. Which, if they bring out more party stuff, then we might actually see party hit standard. Like, hit a constructed format with some amount of impact. And I think that'd be super cool. But
you don't think they'll have party in your Viking set that's coming out?
I don't think so. I hope they do. Because one of the things that Wizards has said that they're sort of put off by is that they've created this issue by moving between from plane to plane in order to keep storylines tighter and lore tighter, that they don't feel like they can make a cohesive block because every plane needs to have its own flavor, right? And I don't think that that has to happen. So we saw in Zendikar, we have Kicker, we have Landfall, and we have the party mechanic. Those are the three big mechanical ideas of Zendikar. Landfall just means that the land is important. So there's no reason why a Norse-flavored set couldn't have...
Snow-covered lands.
Snow-covered lands. It could be. And it could have its own version of Landfall, too. Like
Snow-covered landfall.
Snow-covered landfall. Snowfall. Why not? Avalanche. And it would still pair well with the landfall that already exists, but it would have its own flavor. Kicker is Kicker. Kicker can go anywhere. So Kicker could definitely be a thing in... because all Kicker is like using more mana to do more things. If that's not Thor, I don't know what is. You know, it's just like, I'm just going to gather more and then do more. And then the party mechanic could easily be a thing, like adventuring parties in a set labeled after Vikings. Yeah, that could be a thing. So there's no reason why they couldn't carry that through into that set, into Kaldheim. And I hope they do. But I don't see them doing that because they always want every new plane to have its own flavor. But if they don't, the D&D set will definitely have party mechanics in it. And that'll give us at least some party stuff to play with in a constructed way.
All right. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about this one. So.
Yeah. I'm super hyped for it, but I'm also scared to death of it. So what are you going to do? You know. All right, this one's one of mine.
Take some downtime. That's what you're going to do.
Taking some downtime, and I don't mean a 5-minute break to rehydrate. So, as a lot of people know, the arena was not working very well the day that Zendikar came out. In fact, for a lot of people, it wasn't working at all. There was a lot of extended maintenance. People were trying to log in and they couldn't. Like, they get a draft going and then immediately get kicked out and get black screened. It was a whole mess. It took pretty much all day and all night to figure out exactly what was going on. And then some people were still having issues as far out as 24 hours. And they weren't happy about it, right? And that is completely understandable for card gamers who have not spent any time playing games that involve maintenance, such as hero shooters like Overwatch, all the way to MMOs. Maintenance is a common thing in which you just got to know that maintenance is done when it's done, and that's a thing. The problem that came about was that players thought that they should be compensated for not being able to play on that day. That they should have gotten some kind of pack or maybe some gems. Anything more than just a refund if they got knocked out of a draft or something. And I'm not certain that I agree with that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, well, first of all, to address something you said a minute ago, I will have you know, and I may be one of the very few people out there, I played WoW, never experienced any downtime.
That's
Every time I logged on, I was able just to play.
That's amazing. Were you busy on Tuesdays during the time period you were playing WoW?
I don't remember what days it was.
I got you.
Why? It was Tuesday.
Tuesday was maintenance day, which that has a lot to do with it too. It's a very interesting problem for those kind of games because maintenance has to happen. You know, you have to do regular maintenance on a game involving a server.
Was Arena a regular maintenance thing, or like servers crash?
So the reason that there was maintenance going on was because the new set came out, and so they
just
were
overloaded everything.
It seems like there was a lot of overload. A lot of it had to do with certain card interactions were causing the system to crash. Some of it was just the fact that triple the number of people, I think, is what is quoted. About triple the number of people who are normally on Arena on any given day were showing up on Thursday when the new set hit and the rotation hit and they were trying to get all their stuff. And people mark it to bad programming. And there is certainly a lot to be said about managing your interface in a way that would cut down on these issues. But anytime you're trying to program thousands of interactions into a system, there's gonna be hiccups, you know. And the fact that the game was only out for that day is pretty good because smaller groups could have been down for up to a week depending on how bad the situation got, you know.
Okay, to finish answering your question, it's free. Arena's free, so it's not like you paid $30 for this month, so you should get an extra $2 back or something like that. On the other hand, it would have been nice if WotC would have thrown out some gems or coins or here's a pack for people's trouble. And after our discussion about the pass, I'm actually thinking that something should have been done, maybe.
Okay.
Because if people are spending $17 to get these rewards and they can't play for 2 days.
Yeah. I think that is probably the fairest argument that I can make for it. If we're looking for some kind of recompense for time, I would say give everyone 1,000 XP. Because that is pretty much what they would have missed out on.
Yeah, level everybody up or something.
Yeah, give everyone a free level. And, you know, like, I get that some people are like, oh, well, there's also 500 gold on the line, or 750 gold, and there's, you know, like, upwards of 1,000 gold if you grind everything out. Yeah, but also it's free. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would have been a good thing to do. I think in the future, WotC should consider just doing some of those nice goodwill things, because all it does is make you look good to your customer base. It costs them nothing to give people a free level, but it would make people feel so much better.
Yeah, or even if it wasn't a level, if it was here's 1,000 gems or 500 gems or
right, here's a pack.
Yeah, here's a pack from each. Here's 5 packs, one from all 5 things.
Right, they could do that, and it would cost them nothing.
Yeah, it would cost them nothing, and it would make up for anything. It would more than make up for anything lost on the ladder thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think as much as I like to rag on people and say, oh yeah, blah blah blah, but it is free. I don't think people should be rioting over it, but it would be nice if WotC showed a little goodwill here and there, just to up that PR just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say on that. What's coming up?
Set boosters. There's a new type of booster out, and it's not supposed to be drafted. I don't know how I feel about this. Back when I was actually playing, I drafted. I didn't do constructed, in part because I didn't want to, pay $150 just to have some land in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about them?
Okay. So just to give some quick context, the big things I want to say here is that, one, draft boosters are not going away. For anyone who doesn't know that, set boosters are an additional form of booster that you can buy, just like collector boosters or something like that. And a set booster is supposed to gives you less overall cards with more chances at more rares to mythics, to give someone who just wants to crack packs an exciting pack opening feel. The first thing I want to say about this, and I hate saying it because I hate comparing this is gambling. This is gambling at its highest level within card gaming. Because, I guess just short of collector's boosters, which is the highest of high gambling. But the idea is supposed to be, you're cracking this pack. Most of the time that you crack a pack, it's actually going to be worth less than a draft pack because it has 3 less commons in it.
But it could have 4 rares.
It could have 4 rares. It could have 4 mythics. And the idea of it potentially having 4 mythics is what you're paying for. You're paying for that reward of potentially opening 2 rares or 3 rares or 4 rares. And as someone who used to crack packs for value, I get it. Like, it's something that I could definitely see 17-year-old Matt doing. I would just go and sit, buy a box, and just start cracking. This was before I had a group of friends that I would just draft that box with. So if you're the kind of person who just likes to shell open packs, this gives you an exciting way to try to get more cards. And since the cards that you'll be missing are commons and uncommons, out of the 3 cards that you don't get per pack, you're probably not losing a super amount of value, and you're gaining the upside of the potential of drawing more packs. So if you're that kind of person, do that. However, I almost always encourage people who are those kind of people to find some friends and learn how to draft, because drafting is super fun. You don't need that many people around to do it. It's a community activity, and you get to keep all the cards anyway. You bought the box. So
how long do you think it'll be before somebody figures out a draft format for this?
-3 days.
It's already done?
No, I think so. I think people have been working on it. Honestly, I don't know if people will draft it, because 12 cards and not 15 kind of cause issues. But maybe they'll do 4 packs instead of 3, and then just have an extra surplus of a few cards added into things. But I think that will be. I think that it'll be a very luxurious sealed event where people will buy 7 packs of set boosters instead of 6 packs of draft boosters, and just like some people will just play 14 rares in a deck.
There's another part of the set booster that you didn't get to that's also kind of a gamble.
Oh yeah,
and that is so the set booster, just laying it out real quick. There's the full art thing. It's not a card, but here's a card sized picture.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that there's a artist signature.
Yeah, like a gold stamp. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a land, which is going to be full bleed because it's Zendikar. Your 6 common and uncommons. A card that they think has good art. Wild card, rare, mythic, whatever. The foil. And then the last slot. So the last slot could just be a token. Could just be, a tip card. They're also doing these mini games. I don't know. Have you seen any of the mini games?
No, I haven't.
I saw a few of them. There's one that's like you and your opponent get 3 packs. Take out these cards. You lay them out in a grid, and it's like find the treasure or something like that.
Oh, okay. It's like a memory game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, or you're looking for a specific card or something like that.
Interesting.
Another one where I think you give 11 of the cards and they have to try to guess what the 12th one is or something like that.
Okay.
But the other option is it could be filled with a list card. It does not make it standard legal. WotC is clear on that.
Yep.
But what do you think about the list, I guess, in general, and the fact that they could be sneaking them into these set boosters?
So the list, for people who don't know what the list is a humongous number of cards from all over Magic's history. You can get stuff from early Magic, like 98 Magic, 99 Magic, all the way up to more current stuff. There's a lot of power in them. They're in original frames of whatever they came from. They have the original stamp. So they're essentially reprints of stuff throughout Magic's history. And some of them are worth quite a bit of money, a lot of money. And some of them are worth nothing. They are unplayable in any format, and they're not worth anything. This is another one of those gambles, and one of the things that I love about the list is I love it when there are potential reprints of powerful cards for people who play other formats like Commander, Modern, Legacy. The list should be smaller and it should be curated toward those formats. And I know it's not nice to say, it's like, maybe slivers will become good in X or Y format, and that might be true. But even if it is, muscle sliver is not what you're going to play. Like, it's just not worth it. And I don't think with the amount of gamble that it already is, because you're only going to get a list card, I think it said roughly 1 in 4 packs is going to have a list card. With that kind of already low number of potential gets at the list card,
that's actually higher than I was expecting it to be.
It is. I will say that it is much higher than I thought it was going to be. I thought at most it was going to be like 12.5%, like 1 in 6 or 1 in 8, something like that. But with it already being that your expected value of a list card is 1 out of everything, why is the list it's like 3,000 cards?
It's 300 cards.
All right.
I am looking at a list of the list
All
right
right, I'm over exaggerating.
It is
But
300 cards.
it's 300 cards, and only like it's not very many of them are above the like $4 mark, or even
You
I
know what
don't
a Doomblade goes for these days?
a Doomblade.
Yeah.
If it's more than $1, I'm gonna be real sad.
Okay, fine. What about a Army Ants? When was the last time you saw an Army
I don't
Ants?
even know what Army Ants is.
It is one black and a red for a 1/1.
Okay,
Tap, sack a land, destroy target land.
12 cents.
Oh, okay.
How close am I?
I have no idea.
But that's what I'm saying, right? There's so many cards in there that you will not see in any format. People aren't even playing them in Pauper, like, and I mean Pauper, I mean, whatever. That's a thing. That's a show. But I just feel like they should have put more relevant cards in it, because the whole point is it to be a reprint thing. If the point of it is to be a reprint thing,
Squirrel
make
Mob.
them, huh?
Squirrel Mob.
Squirrel Mob is actually a card people want, because for some reason Morrow has tied himself to squirrels, and so people like to get in on the squirrel bit, even though, I mean, it's still got to be worth almost nothing, but like a couple bucks maybe. But I get why they would print something like that, because that's sort of a designer flares thing. It people tie it to Morrow, so whatever. I still don't agree with it. I think that the 300 cards should be all stuff that you would play in Legacy, Vintage, Modern, Commander.
I see a
Pauper.
card. I see a card that has a spot in every format.
Go for it. What is it?
Planes.
Planes.
It's the unglued art, but yes, planes.
Unglued planes. And there is good stuff in there. There's I think I saw Graham crack a Magic Fest lightning bolt. And so it's a full art lightning bolt with the Magic Fest symbol on it.
Yep.
That's super cool. That is super cool. And lightning bolt has, it's not banned in Modern. You can play it. You can play it in Commander. So there are formats that some of these cards are really good for. And I know that there are like super high price cards in there too that I just can't remember off the top of my head.
You were telling me you needed to get in the Hero the Lithomancer.
Near the Lithomancer. That's the pure white one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that card. I don't need that card.
Ooh, Nylea.
Yeah, Nylea's pretty decent card. I mean that's a
I know Nylea.
$4 card or something like that, maybe. But Nylea is a cool card. But is she relevant in a lot of stuff? I mean, you might play her in Commander. So
She was very relevant last time I played.
yes, yes, she was.
So was Nykthos.
But like I said, I think these cards are cool. I think there's some good stuff in there. But overall, with it already being a gamble as to whether or not you get a list card, like if you got a list card every time you opened a pack, and then the gamble was, did you get a good list card or a bad list card, I could understand this list situation. But with it already being a question as to whether or not you get a list card, the list card should be relevant. It doesn't have to be high price. It should just be relevant. An old border Land of War Elves. Like that way, so that people could see the old border and the old art of Land of War Elves. It's a relevant card in just about every format. Will play Land of War Elves if you're playing green. But it's a fancy old one. I don't know. That's just me.
Okay, well, I didn't really have anything else to talk about.
None else to add on that one? Okay. Let's go for our last hit here. Yes, the last one. Ramp and speculation. I think you should start this one off.
All right, so we are recording this on September 25th on a Friday. 3 days ago, the official Magic Twitter tweeted that, quote, "We are closely monitoring developments in Standard. In order to avoid disrupting this weekend's tournaments, we intend to provide an update on the format early next week. I'm not a standard player, as I'm sure you guys have guessed, but I have seen a lot of people talking about this, and most of the stuff I'm seeing is talking about finally getting rid of Uro. I'm glad I got that card sold. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the video where Dish tries to beat my my pre-con with a brick of junk.
Link in the description.
Yeah. They're going to have like 18 links in the description. How about you do one of those little pop-up boxes for this one?
Okay, hit the eye if I can make that happen. Maybe I can do that.
Yeah, check that out. It was going for 50, I think. What did I get? Like 30, 35 for it from the shop. Yeah. We'll see what it looks like in a week after it's maybe been banned. But Ramp has basically taken over the meta. Landfall is a massive thing right now. It's Zendikar. That's when I started playing. Yeah, Landfall is a thing. And Uro is just... He's been kind of broken for a while, from what I understand. And it's super broken now. So, Dish, what do you think is going to happen? What is this update on the format?
Okay, so when people talked about if this were one of my videos, I would have finished saying what you said about we will be watching closely over the next few days and bring it up next week, and I would have finished with and the internet shat itself. So like the amount of vitriol and just sort of high explosive behaviors coming out of this is insane to me. If I had to just put a bet on what was going to be banned, they're looking at either Uro or Lotus Cobra. And the reason for that is currently there is a deck that is 4 colors in standard that is doing extremely well. I think it's 32% of the meta on Arena according to MTG Goldfish. And
isn't Lotus Cobra's been around.
Lotus Cobra is a Zendikar reprint. You remember? Okay. Yeah, Lotus Cobra.
I thought I had run across Lotus Cobras before.
Yeah, 2-1.
Leave Lotus Cobra, get rid of Uro.
Yeah. Leave Lotus Cobra, get rid of Uro. Well, okay, so a lot of people are saying that Lotus Cobra got banned from the last time it was in Standard, which I didn't go back to look up, because I don't remember Lotus Cobra ever getting banned in Standard. But they said that someone had said Lotus Cobra died for Jace the Mind Sculptor's sins last time around. I saw somebody say that. I have no idea if that's true or not. But whether or not I believe that, this is what I do believe. Magic is built on a certain principle of resource management. And if you make a card that, if you get lucky enough, you can make 8 free mana on turn 4, that's not a fair card. And Lotus Cobra, I have seen games where people are... So this whole ramp deck, this is the way it works. Turn 1, play a land and get yourself some kind of either a mana dork or get a land from your deck using a 1-cost card to search for a land. Turn 2, play a Lotus Cobra. Turn 3, play a Lotus Cobra, play a land, and then play 2 more Lotus Cobras. And then on turn 4, you're just like, play a land, play a Fabled Passage or something, crack it to get another land. I have 8 free mana of any color I want. Get a bunch of land out of my deck, continually exponentially expand my mana through the course of this, play Omnath, which has its own landfall triggers that just decimate the opponent's board, play Uro to get more card advantage and more lands so that you can do more mana stuff. and then play Genesis Ultimatum, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put them on the field, basically. Like, that's basically what it does, because it puts all permanents on the field. But if your deck isn't permanents, it's land ramp, so you'll just get to play more land ramp and do more stuff. The deck is sick. It's beatable. Like, you can play blue-black roads and have a good matchup against it, kind of. But it's definitely one of those time periods where you're either playing the Omnath deck or you're playing the deck that beats the Omnath deck. But in honesty, I think Lotus Cobra needs to be looked at seriously, because just getting any extra mana past, in any color, past what you want or past what you normally get is a huge advantage. And I feel like they looked at this card and they said, Lotus Cobra was alright last time, right? It was okay. And then, but with the newer cards being what they are, being able to fix your mana and ramp your mana in any color just makes it explosive. But Uro has been a problem. Uro's been a problem since day one, and I don't hate it, because I personally find value engines like that, you just keep killing them until they stay dead. But I also play a lot of mono black, so there's that. But it is a lot of advantage. Life gain, card draw, the ability to play an extra land on a 6/6 body, and you get to keep the body if you pay 4, and if you pay 3, you lose the body. That's a lot of advantage.
So, what are you putting money down on?
If I had to put money down, I'd say Uro. If I had my way, it'd be Uro and Lotus Cobra for now, with the proviso that maybe we unban Lotus Cobra when we see what...
what about getting rid of that Genesis whatchamacallit?
So, Genesis isn't a problem if you can't generate 8 extra mana on turn 4. If it's not Genesis Ultimatum, it's something else, right? When you have the ability to generate 12 mana on turn 4, as long as there's anything that wins the game off of that, you'll win, right? Like, you'll be able to do it because you have the mana to do it. So Genesis Ultimatum is not the real problem, because before Lotus Cobra came out, even with Uro, people weren't playing Genesis Ultimatum. It just wasn't doing anything. It was too hard to pull off.
Well, I think Lotus should stick around.
You just like cards you're familiar with, I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. But the idea behind this made me think of something else, and I'm curious what you think of it. So, I talk a lot about the color pie, and like what I think the color pie was trying to do originally, and what balances things, what makes things right. And I got in a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she said that she thought she was still talking about blue being broken from back when she played. But the problem with green and the problem with blue is that both of them usually have the ability to do what other colors do, on top of having card draw and land ramp, right? What if green only allowed you to ramp in green? Like, what if all of those cards that search for lands actually said search for
Forest?
basic forests? That way you couldn't even, like, cheat by using shock lands or, other duels. They only search for forests, and anytime something gave you excess mana, it only gave you green mana.
I mean, most of them, they gave you mana that could only be used for green, or they only gave you green mana. Like a Lana War.
Like, it'd be more like a land war, where they give you
So
green mana.
I could still, under your thing, with the new Dish Elf, I could still tap Dish Elf to play a non-specified mana cost of 1.
Yeah, absolutely. You could use
So
dishes
it's not
Lotus
it can only be used for green spells.
right.
Whatever.
Right. No, nothing like that. It's just if you wanted to use your Lotus Cobras to pop off, you would also have to have land of other colors on your field already so that you could do the multicolor shenanigans.
Maybe. I don't play enough. Like in my head, like I'm thinking of a lot of green cards right now from back when I did play, where it was, you know, what was it, something expedition, where you play it.
Kalani Heart.
Yeah, where you'd go and you would just look for land.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's. Are people splashing green just to look for extra mountains? Like,
Yeah. I mean, so that's the question, right? Is that like
I'm asking you, the guy that
right.
plays against.
No, I know. So like with Gruul decks, red green decks, you'll often see them just playing like the most efficient ramp because they're playing enough mountains that they can pay for the red spells, but the green is there just to heighten the deck, right? And so for 2 colors, green is still doing what it's supposed to be doing in this new world that I've created, right? Because 2 color decks, all they need is enough mana to pay the generic costs and enough of their other color to pay those.
Which is usually 1, maybe 2.
Yeah, 1, maybe 2, right? Sometimes 3 if you're going hard into it, right? So in this world, 2 color decks pretty easy. 3 color decks, and especially cards like when you look at like the Nico Bolas type stuff, right, where it asks for 2 black, 3 red, and a blue, or something like that, right? You wouldn't splash green in that deck if green could only get green stuff, because it doesn't help you pay for any of the colors you're trying to get. But in the current standard, you could definitely switch into 4 colors to try to play these super specific non-green spells, because you have enough fixing to get colors in non-green to do stuff. And I think that the current Omnath rec deck is kind of shows that, because Omnath itself only needs 1 green to get on the board. Genesis Ultimatum is, I want to say, Teamer? It's green, blue, red, I think. It might be green, blue, white. But it's got very specific mana costs, but only 3 of that mana is green. So in our current world, it's just like, well, that's okay because I can fix for anything I want. But in this new world...
2 is green.
Sorry, say again?
Green, blue, red.
2 green.
2 green. 3 blue.
Yeah, 2 green, 3 blue, 2 red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that kind of cost, if green could only ramp for green, I don't think this card would see play ever. Like, it'd be too super specific. You'd only play it in jank decks for fun. And right now, it's seen a huge amount of play because of the way that you can quickly and easily, even if you couldn't get out mana easily, this card would not see play. It's the fact that you can get a large sum of mana on 1 turn,
yeah,
way early, right? And then take this advantage step. So, I don't know. I think overall, it's a bad deal, and it feels bad because this kind of card would normally only see like fun commander play. You're in these colors and you throw this in because if you happen to have the mana when it happens, you blow out your opponents, and it's hilarious. And they're like, I wasn't expecting Genesis Ultimatum, but now in Standard, everyone knows Genesis Ultimatum's coming, and they don't have anything they can do about it. In the meantime, I'd say keep up your mystical disputes, and just hope that you can counter it until they do something. But I do think Uro's going to get hit, and I think that they should hit Lotus Cobra, because ultimately Lotus Cobra is what's getting the bulk of that mana done.
I think you had that backwards, by the way. I think Jace died for Lotus Cobra's sins.
Oh, you know what? I think that would have made more sense, because I know what I read, and I definitely read it the other way around, but I could see someone saying that. They'd still be wrong, because Jace is an incredibly powerful card.
Especially then.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything else kind of caught up to it, but when it's...
Yeah.
Here's a new standard card, and people in like old legacy vintage formats are like, I need one of those.
Yes.
That's how the card is broken.
That's how you know that you're dealing with a massively overpowered card. When you're like Oko was, you knew Oko was a problem because day 2, legacy and vintage players were buying up Okos. You know, they're like, oh, this is seen play in our format, and if it's seen play in that format, it's a trouble.
I had a buddy that cracked one. Cracked the Jace.
A Jace, the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, Mind Sculptor, yeah.
Oh, man.
Sold it for like $18, $20, something like that.
Oh, you hate to see it.
I sold my foil Misty Rainforest for like 30.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you just don't know what a card's worth until it's been, 5-10 years. But man, oh man, Jace was one of those cards that I looked at the first time and I'm like, this is the card that people who've been boogeymanning about Planeswalkers are talking about. You know what I mean? Because up to that point, we had some Planeswalkers that were pretty okay, but nothing like insane. At least nothing that I can think of that was just like, yes, we have to play this. Jace the Mind Sculptor, I saw this card and I'm like, if ever anyone had anything to complain about, this is it. You know, like this is...
I hated Planeswalkers from the time it started.
Yeah.
I felt like they were just a tacked on addition to the game.
I mean, I have mixed feelings about Planeswalkers. It could probably take me a whole video to talk about my relationship with Planeswalkers. Overall, I have no beef with the concept. Design could use some work.
I mean, as a new player, trying to get a grasp on the rules, just so everybody, Dish, you already know this, but just so everybody understands how much I didn't know, me and my friend were convinced that a Terramorphic Expanse tapped for colorless, or you could tap it and sack it to go, dig for a forest or something. And we thought it was a great card. I mean, it was a great card. It is
a great card, right?
Yeah, it was Zendikar. Landfall was a thing. That's 2 triggers on 1 turn right there.
Yeah, man. That's 4 cards with that Hedron Crab.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I love Hedron Crab. Hedron Crab. It's really funny. They made a new version of Hedron Crab. I'm sorry to go on a tangent real quick, but they made a new Hedron Crab, and I hate it because it's so good at milling that in Sealed, if it shows up turn 1, you might as well concede, bro, because you're not going to win that game before they mill you 30, 40 cards. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all I got. Like, trying to get the rules down. Like, we didn't even try to figure out things like, I don't know, I don't think damage was on the stack. by Zendikar.
Yeah, no, but
That's just horror stories I heard from other people.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, like the people that were around me, some people still were convinced that mana burn should be a thing. Other people would just have all these weird house rules. We're trying to get a handle on things, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, these cards go out, and it's basically now us two against you. Oh, you want to attack my planeswalker? Well, you can't really. What you have to do is you have to attack me." And then you can redirect it.
Right.
But you have to do it at the right time, and you can't just go, I'm attacking your Jace or whatever. And that was just too much. Like
I laugh because of how real that moment is, where like the original rules of how planeswalkers functioned. Like I played almost professionally during a time period where all that stuff was still valid, and I still couldn't tell you exactly how all of those rules worked. Part of it because I don't remember them, but also it's just hard to turn into words, because of how difficult they made it work. Now I feel like it works a lot better. It's like, if you want to get rid of a planeswalker, you attack a planeswalker. And if you want to deal damage to a planeswalker with a damage spell, you point it at the planeswalker. Like, it's all much more functional now. And now they make planeswalkers too good. And now they need to pull back.
Back in Zendikar days.
Good old World Wake. And it's but Nissa Ravain was a pretty balanced walker. Like, don't remember seeing any.
The only planeswalker I remember from those days is the Jace.
Yep, and
that
that's because Jace feels that way,
No, it was only because one of my buddy's roommates played Magic, and he wanted one, and then my buddy cracked one, and then my buddy sold one to somebody who wasn't his roommate.
The ultimate feels bad.
Yeah.
We live together. Yeah.
I don't know how well they got along together, but I distinctly remember don't tell him I got this. He really wants this card.
Right.
Oh, what are you doing? I'm selling it to this other guy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, in conclusion on this, while I think Uro has been a problem and should be dealt with because it should have been dealt with months ago. I think they should also hit Lotus Cobra. I think what's going to happen is they're going to hit Uro. They're going to leave Lotus Cobra alone for a while, see if another insane ramp deck rears its ugly head, and then do something about Cobra after that if they do. But for everyone who thinks that they should be hitting Omnath is not the problem. Omnath isn't even a quarter of the problem. Because if you had to play Omnath without Lotus Cobras and Uros, it would be so hard. It would be so difficult.
Okay, so for your viewers,
mm-hmm.
If Omnath is banned and Lotus Cobra isn't, which you do not think should happen.
I do not think should happen.
What are you going to do for your viewers? You're going to take them out for ice cream?
So, let's see. Okay, guys. Right now, in the comments, put what you think should be banned. This is only going to work until Monday because chances are we'll see this announcement Monday or Tuesday. So, put down in the comments what you think is going to be banned. And if what you think is going to be banned doesn't match what I think is going to be banned, and you're right, I'll give you a shout out on the next video. I'll mention you at the end, and I'll be like, these people were right and I was wrong, and that's got to be worth something, right?
Not as much as ice cream.
Ice cream's so hard to ship, though. All right. I think we've spent enough time on these topics. If you guys have any comments that you want to add in to things, put them in the comments below, and we'll talk about them maybe next time, maybe in their whole other video. If you guys got any suggestions, put them down there. Give a like, subscribe, help out the channel. I have a Ko-fi. Check out the Ko-fi if you want to donate to the channel. We're actually, it doesn't look like it, but we're really close to getting the donations we need for the Budget Commander build. So if you guys want to see that upgraded Commander deck YouTube video, make it happen, Anything you want to add, Adam?
Yeah. Let Dish know if you like this format. This one is kind of just a dry run. Definitely ran longer than we were expecting. It's a little bit looser than we were expecting. In the future, expect it tighter, shorter, or if you like this, let us know. It won't always be me. He'll find people who can actually contribute to the Magic discussions to hop on. But if you like this, let him know, and maybe he'll start doing it live. You guys can actually tell him how much you like it or don't like it or whatever in comments and whatnot.
I appreciate it. Oh, and also, if you are watching this and you are some kind of Magic person who wants to talk about these kind of things with me, get a hold of me on my email, intotheknowledgepool@gmail.com. I'll add it to the description. And let me know if we can do this and you can give your thoughts in Adam's place here. In the meantime, I appreciate it.
The bar is set pretty low.
I think you did great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of ice cream, you want to go get some ice cream?